Today I had an early day, you know. Get into work. Supervisor tells me, hey, we're gonna have you help somebody else in a different center, figure some stuff out from a safety standpoint. So I'm like, okay, well, cool. We'll let somebody run my route. And I stayed in, and come to find out that person wasn't able to stay in as well. So I really didn't get to do that part of the day, but we got caught up on some other stuff. So we made it work. We made it work. We'll see what happens in the next day or two, or maybe next week. Not sure we're going to be able to execute on that, but I'm here to help. I'm here to help. I'm gonna lend a helping hand. So let's go ahead. See, make sure this is right. We don't need that falling down at all. What's up, Bomb Squad? How y'all been? How y'all been? And like I just said, I mean, it's been a rough, a weird week and a half. It's been a sad, if I do say so myself, it's been a sad week and a half for me. And you know, we trying to get through it. Um, but we'll talk about that. Bomb Squad, let's go. All right. First up, yeah, and we live.
Break that meeting.
We are live.
Break that meeting.
Bomb Squad was good. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be in front of you guys tonight on a Wednesday, hump day. Yep, 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 yep. Hope everybody's doing great. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for the likes. We appreciate it. All right. Sometimes things don't make sense. Sometimes people do stuff that you don't understand, and sometimes you may never understand it, why people do certain things. But we're all human. We all make mistakes. We tend to make mistakes, some bigger than others, right? But we're all human, and we make decisions based on what we're trying to accomplish as human beings, what we're trying to get out of society, and what we want our life to look like, what we want our family to look like, what we want to experience in life. But I just always question why people make certain decisions. Not that I'm always right, but we see a lot and we question a lot. It's just some things that are never meant to be understood by people with even minds. Okay, I'm gonna just leave it at that. All right. So y'all, plane crash last week. UPS flight 2976. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I walked into the office fresh off my route Tuesday last week, November 4th, and talking to my supervisor, my nighttime closing supervisor, and we were talking about some random stuff, right? Another driver walks in and was like, "Hey, y'all heard about the plane crash? The UPS plane crash, man. It's everywhere on my phone. My phone is blowing up. It's everywhere." And I was like, "Well, I don't know. I hadn't heard anything, but I'm not too much on my phone when I'm working, but I hadn't heard anything. But at the same time, like, I probably missed it. But, hey, tell me, what's up? What happened?" My supervisor already kind of had the news flash, but I didn't. So driver was like, "Hey, it's a good time to start the stop, UPS stop, right?" So my first train of thought is not really so much from a monetary standpoint, who about to get sued, what happened, where's the stock market gonna go, where's the stock gonna head up or down. I really wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about like the first thing, like, okay, well, if it's a UPS plane, right? There's people involved. there's people on board, pilots, however many they have on board at the same time. And if it crashed, I know that there's life on that plane. So immediately I'm thinking about, wow, you know, normally when you have plane crashes, for the most part, you know, especially if it's something this severe, it's hard to have survivors. So immediately I was heartbroken because I know that lives were lost. At that time, because it was my initial reaction to the news, at that time I had no idea the devastation it was going to cause on the ground and proceeded to cause on the ground due to the crash. And as we got more details, as I got more details and learned about the happenings, it just got worse and worse. The ball of fire, the path of destruction, people missing, warehouses, stores on fire, men, women, children, devastated, right? So I would never understand my fellow driver, that initial reaction to a tragedy. So, of course, they always say, hey, hindsight is 2020. We get it, right? Going back and looking at that person's initial reaction, I don't know. It might tell you a lot about that person because they're not thinking about life initially. They're thinking about money, which I'm not saying something's wrong with that. I'm not judging. It just felt weird to me. Like, you are thinking about the stock going down tomorrow versus, hey, how many people lost their lives? How many people not going to return home to their families? How many people would this affect? And like, you know what? I always tell my group, and they'll tell you this, right? I always tell my group when I talk to my group every morning at work, you know, not everybody believes in God. I get it, and people have their own God. I get it. But, God forbid, if anything was to happen to anybody in my group, we're all going to be affected. I'm going to be affected. Everybody else going to be affected. Their family's going to be affected. I tell them that, and they will tell you, I tell them that like often, probably once a month, if not twice a month. And it's real because what happened was the next day, we gave a moment of silence, for the victims of the plane crash. And, I'm speaking and I mean, my voice was a little rattled just because I don't personally know these people, but it goes back to what I always tell my group. So once it happened to one of us, it's going to affect all of us. We're for the same company. We're pretty much doing the same thing. It's a brotherhood to a certain degree, right? And so, one, you don't want to ever see people lose their lives. At least us normal people don't, right? And two, we're for the same people. We're for the same company. We all are trying to achieve the same goal. We want to work hard, support our families, retire one day. So no matter whether you're cleaning the floors, where you're delivering packages, loading trucks, flying the plane, cleaning the plane, working on the plane, driving the 18-wheelers, changing the tires on the 18-wheelers. We all trying to achieve the same goal ultimately. And I tell them, I say, look, life is precious, which we all know this already. Life is precious, but at the same time, at what point you totally forget about life and then you're thinking about the monetary aspect of it? And we know, like, things are going to happen. People are going to get sued. The company's going to get sued. It's going to be a whole bunch of stuff after everything is all settled, right? But what's not settled are those families that's affected. And as of today is what, November 12th, right? It was 8 days ago. It happened on the 4th, and there's still people missing. I want to say I seen a report yesterday, was still 9 people missing. So after a week, if you still have people missing, well, guess what? The likelihood of those people being found alive is probably very slim. So we're talking about, it's like 14, 15 passed away. Then you have 9 missing still, and then you still have people in the hospital and ICU. So I'll let to say this, certain people thinking about other things. Most of us are thinking about the thing that really matters, and that's humans and the preservation of life, all right? So that right there, that part made me sad, on top of the fact that, all of these people are affected. Who cares about the business as far as airport closing and all that crap? Who cares about that? But we do know these lives and these families are affected forever. And I'm still sad, all right? I'm still sad. But prayers up to all of those people that's affected, whether you were on the ground, whether you know somebody, whether you lost a family member, the pilots, even the mechanics and the supervisors that work on the planes, think about it. You gotta feel sorry for them too. At least I do. Feel sorry for them, because if you work on a plane, or if you did maintenance on a plane, and then it doesn't make it where it's supposed to go, you know, to a certain degree, like you feel as if like, wow, I made an impact on whether or not those people return home, or I made an impact on a lot of people in general. You know, it's a huge event. And I read somewhere where it's been a long time since a cargo plane actually went down in the United States. I want to say they said 15 years maybe, with this level of devastation or with this level of lives lost in a cargo plane. It doesn't happen often, and it did on November 4th. So prayers out to everybody, who affected, and my heart still hurts. My heart still hurts. So all we can do at this point is just try to get some understanding on maybe possibly what happened, and then so that way the proper folks can make some adjustments to where something like this won't happen again. Won't happen again. Auntie Toshi, shouts out to you. Yeah, this is it's pretty tragic. It's pretty tragic. Thanks for your support. I appreciate you. I saw the light. What's good, my guy? What's good, man? How you been, brother? How you been? Hey, thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you. How you been, brother? How you been? All right, so this first video we want to look at is basically, it's about 5 days ago, and the NTSB was given an update. So let's see what they got to say. So these numbers, because it's showing 12 dead, at least 12 dead, but these numbers are higher now. But this was as of 5 days ago. Let's get into it. See, this will pull up.
These data points that were provided by the FAA showed the aircraft for the last reporting time was at 475 feet of altitude, traveling at a speed of 183 knots. This data point was collected at 5:13 and 32 seconds Eastern Standard Time on the night of the accident. This information will be coupled with the flight data recorder information and other information that we receive that will help us prepare a timeline of exactly what occurred and in what progression, what was known in either the cockpit or on the ground, and it is another important part of the information. Yesterday, we also did what was called a FOD walk. This is a foreign object debris.
All right, sorry. So just to give a little context, he said a plane reached a speed of 183 knots, which is, I think I did the math, about 214 miles per hour. So just kind of give a little context. The plane was traveling at a high rate of speed already. Um, they were past the point to where they were cleared to take off. So he just wanted to add a little context, and that probably explains why the plane traveled so far, because it was at a pretty decent speed. Let's keep going.
This FOD walk occurred on runway 17 left, or L, and 17 right, or R. During the FOD walk on 17R, we found multiple pieces of engine fan blades, along with the main component of the engine of the number one engine, which is on the left side of the aircraft. We have transferred all of those to a secured location for further examination, and we'll be using that to further analyze any mechanical aspects. Now, I mentioned yesterday we had recovered the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, often referred to as the FDR and the CVR. Last night, one of our recorder specialists flew overnight with that recorder. Immediately went to the NTSB headquarters where we have a recorder's laboratory and extracted the data from both the FDR and the CVR. We consider this a good extraction with good data points, which means that we will have even more information to help paint a comprehensive picture. So with that, I'd like to introduce Shahoon, who can give you a few specific pieces of information regarding the flight data recorder.
Thank y'all for the likes. Appreciate you.
Both recorders were recovered and disassembled at the NTSB Recorders Lab in Washington, D.C. The FDR, or the flight data recorder, download was successful. It had about 63 hours of data over 24 flights, which included the accident flight. This FDR recorded about 420 parameters. Those parameters included altitude, airspeed, engine information, as well as system statuses for the onboard systems installed. The NTSB will form an FDR group at Washington, D.C. at our headquarters in the coming day. The CVR, or the cockpit voice recorder, was also successfully downloaded. That contained about 2 hours of audio, which included the accident flight. The CVR group will convene at the NTSB in the coming day to do a transcription of the recorded audio for the accident flight.
Thank you. And let me reiterate again, the NTSB does not release the audio of any cockpit voice recording. A transcript ultimately will be made available of the pertinent information regarding the actual flight itself. As Shahoon said, this will take a few days to not only get the information, but to make sure it's validated and verified by the experts and the parties. So we will not be having any information on that for at least another day or two. So with that, we'll try to take a few of your questions. Again, I would ask that you raise your hand, tell me your name and the agency you represent. Joe.
This plane was on the ground for over a month in San Antonio.
And you represent?
As the courier.
Sir.
This plane was on the ground for over a month in San Antonio. Was it there for repairs? You know, major repairs were done. Was a C check or a D check done? And were the engines removed and pylons removed?
So the question for those who may be watching is, we understand that the plane was in San Antonio, Texas for approximately 6 weeks, and what type of maintenance or what type of work was done on that. We are aware that this aircraft was there in San Antonio. We have actually started to pull those records down. We have a specific group that has experts in not only maintenance but repair, job cards, and all of the requirements of that. We're currently downloading that information and going back, and we will actually, as part of the investigative process, we will go back even further from that to get additional pertinent details about certain inspections and checks based on the age of the aircraft. And we will move forward and we will look at every piece of maintenance that was done, even from the San Antonio time all the way to the date of the flight. So those are pertinent and important information. We're aware of it, but it's going to be a laborious process to go through everything, especially whenever you're talking about 6 weeks of being there. We're also pulling CCTV information from the field to be able to understand anything that was being done around the aircraft in the days leading up to it. Yes, ma'am.
Valerie Chin with WDRB News. There were reports that the plane was delayed that day as the engine was being worked on. Can you confirm that, and what details do you have?
So the question was, there's reports regarding delays in regard to the engine before the flight. We've queried, and UPS has told us at this time there were no maintenance work done on the aircraft in question immediately prior to the flight that would delay it in any way, shape, or form. Obviously, one of our jobs is to make sure we verify anything that we may learn through multiple sources, but nothing to this point has been presented to us to dispute that. So our belief is today that there was not a maintenance issue regarding that aircraft prior to the flight subject. Tom?
Mr. Edmond, there was some reporting to suggest that the crew of that plane they were supposed to be on a different plane, and that plane was swapped out for a maintenance issue. In other words, they were on the second plane to take to Honolulu. The previous plane that they had been assigned to may have been swapped out because of its own maintenance issue. Are you aware of that? And also, can you speak to, if there is a broader concern about the MD-11, what steps will you take to ensure that
Right quick, these reporters, they're asking really good and tough questions, like right away, like right off the bat, which I get it. You know, people want to know, but these questions are tough. Let's keep going.
word is spread out and maybe there's a fleet-wide inspection?
You know, each time you ask a question, Tom, you ask two. But that's okay. That's okay. That's okay. The question was in regard to the incident aircraft, and that there's been some reporting or discussion of whether or not it had been swapped out by that crew to take a different plane to on its Honolulu flight. Right now, we've not gotten any specific information on it. The good news is UPS, their flight scheduling and all of their crews are being very cooperative with us, providing everything we need. So we will go back and look at that history, because whenever a crew is assigned, obviously sometimes that's a last minute change, but with cargo operations, it doesn't happen very quickly if you have to move a lot of cargo and other things. So the good news is, again, we've got CCTV footage. We can be able to identify and validate that very quickly, but it is one part of the pre-flight information that will be part of our report. The second question was in regard to the MD-11s. And I can say this, you know, every aircraft, based on its age, the number of hours and cycles, has to go through a series of checks that have been tested and verified over many years of this plane flying. We are going back and looking to confirm every one of those checks were conducted and to verify. And sometimes in accidents like this, we may make recommendations for a different check or a different type of work to be done. But the most important thing I can stress to you, we have no problem or concern if we find something that is of life safety or that is urgent, of making an urgent recommendation. To date, we have not found anything that would indicate we need to take that action, but we have no problem making that recommendation immediately when we find information that could help the traveling public and make them safer.
Yeah, so the thing is, those MD-11 aircrafts, UPS uses a lot, FedEx uses a lot, and so like now, as of over the weekend, all those planes are grounded. They're not allowed to use the MD-11s right now, and I believe the MD-10s as well. They're not allowed to use those and fly those, so they have to make adjustments. UPS does, and FedEx has to make adjustments. And so I'm not sure if you guys seen the video, several videos, but the video of the plane attempting to take off. You have a fireball on the left side, on the left wing. That engine number one ends up falling off onto the runway, and the plane's still trying to attempt to take off at the same time, because the pilots in the plane, they already reached a point to where like you have to go, and the engine falls off, the fuel trying to go into the engine that's not there. That's the fire that you see on that left wing. It barely clears the fence, runs out of runway, barely clears the fence, turns over to the left side, hits building, and the rest is history. So I had a conversation with a fellow driver, and a few nights ago we talked about maybe what's the probable cause, or maybe what happened, whether it was a bird strike, or maybe human error or some type of just the engine failure or whatever. So this coworker, he has insight because he studied to be an aircraft mechanic, so he knows a lot about engines and stuff like that. And so we just had a conversation on what it could have been, and this was only like maybe like 2 or 3 days after the plane crash. And so we kind of just were trying to think of stuff that might have happened and this and that. But as more information gets out now, you have a more clear idea of what took place and what didn't take place. And so as we get through all the news cycles and the reports and all of that good stuff, we will get more details. Now, this next video that we're going to share in a minute, but let me first get over to the chat. I saw the light. I see you, bro. You doing good? Just grinding? Same here. You already know what time it is. We grind until we can't grind anymore. I appreciate the support. Thank you as always, my brother. Thank you as always. So this next video that we're going to get to, this guy goes by the name of Captain Steve. With Steve has 4 E's, all right? Really good content creator. And I'm going to share this video. He's a pilot, and he's very experienced in the field, and he knows a lot. So a couple of days after the crash, he breaks down some things, and I think he does a great job on breaking down what he believes happened with the information that we had at that time, okay? Let's see if I can pull it up right now.
11 taken to.
Let's go with. And this is not a current video. This video came out a few days after the crash, but I think he does a great job in breaking it down. Let's get to it.
The hospital. Those are the preliminary reports after the tragic crash of UPS 2976 today, shortly after takeoff. And I mean, barely after takeoff from Muhammad Ali Airport in Louisville, Kentucky. What are the details that we know so far? Well, we don't know a whole lot. We have 4 videos I want to show you so far, showing you various aspects of what took place. But UPS, who operates their main hub is Louisville, Kentucky, was operating flight 2976 from Louisville to Honolulu, Hawaii. That flight's a little over 8 hours long, about 8 hours and 20 minutes altogether. It's taking, I think, 220,000 pounds of gas, and that's going to be somewhere around 34,000 gallons of gas. And when you look at the video and see the fireball, you can see why that was just such a tragic thing that happened, and so much explosion, so much. The fireball was just absolutely huge, and we'll talk about things that complicated that as well. So what I want to do is kind of take you through the early stages of the flight. The airplane taxis out. They're fully loaded up. They're about at max gross weight as they taxi out. They taxi onto runway 17. They're cleared for takeoff. The airplane then begins its long takeoff roll. And there's a phase in that takeoff roll that is in between what's called V1 and rotate. And that V1 speed is the decision speed. It's the go, no-go speed. In other words, if you lose an engine, you have a massive failure after V1. You can't stop that airplane in the remaining runway that you have. You must go airborne at that point. So I believe that the pilots were past V1, and I know that because the flight radar 24 information tells us that they went off the end of the runway at 184 knots. That's well above any rotate speed for an MD-11. Now, this particular MD-11, 3 engines on the MD-11. It was manufactured in 1991. There's been a number of issues with the MD-11 over the years. When I first got hired at my airline in 1991, the MD-11 was the brand new shiny object on the planet. And so we only had them for a few years, and then we got rid of them because they were just maintenance headaches. They went to many of the cargo haulers like FedEx and UPS. UPS now is flying this airplane over to Honolulu, max gross weight, 34,000 gallons of gas as it goes off the end of the runway. As we watch the takeoff roll, the airplane gets barely airborne. You can see the nose of the airplane lift off. The number 1 engine is clearly on fire. and then it settles back in. Let me show you the video that shows you that very clearly here. All right, and there's a trigger warning. This is not going to be easy to watch.
Thank
Here
y'all
they
for the
are
like.
rolling down the runway. I'm going to stop it right there. You can see that the left wing, right where the left engine is on fire. The nose of the airplane is already lifted off. So the bystander who is filming this video gets it just after that moment on the runway where they hit V1, but they haven't quite gotten to rotate speed just yet. And so somewhere in between that, what kind of a no man's land, I've had that gap be as much as 10 to 15 knots of airspeed. It seems like an eternity. After you hear V1, you expect to hear rotate right away. And if it's 10 or 15 knots before you hear it, man, you're rolling down that runway, burning up runway, knowing you can't stop on the runway ahead of you, and you're going to go airborne, and you're hoping that nothing happens. Now, pilots prepare for this all the time, but what happened here, that's not something you can plan for. So they're rolling down the runway. They've lifted the nose off the ground. The ADS-B data says they went off the end of the runway at 140 knots and basically 150 feet of altitude. They're not that far off the runway. The nose of the aircraft, where the cockpit is, might be that far off the runway, but the wheels and the bottom of the airplane is much, much closer to the runway. Let me pick it up from here, and you're going to watch. It goes out of the frame just for a minute. It comes back in, and there's a fireball. So they're rotating just now. They're trying to lift off, and here we go. They get a little bit of airborne. They go out of the shot. The shot comes back in, and boom. That's right past the blast fence at the end of the runway. They've just barely cleared that by inches. And then, and we'll show you a picture of the top of the first building that they hit. There's this rut down the first top of the building. That could
Yeah,
have
it
been
look
the
crazy.
landing gear. It could have been the left wing. And I'll tell you why in a minute. I think it's the left wing. I've got more video to show you. And now they create this huge fireball, and the airplane goes for what seems like almost a mile. I'll show you that at the end, the video of how far this airplane went. How do I know that they weren't rejecting the takeoff when they went to the end of the runway? Because of how fast they were going. Typical rotate speed at this gross weight is going to be somewhere around 135 knots altogether, 140 maybe at the top. They were 45 knots past that. They were past that decision point, and they were taken off already. They just simply couldn't get enough lift to get very far airborne, just enough to clear the fence. The airplane settles back in. I want to show you.
So as you see the fireball, as the plane was trying to take off, once you see the fireball, that left engine is already off. It's already gone. All right. Hey, shouts out to Captain Steve. The link to his channel is in the description if y'all want to check him out. Let's keep going.
A flight aware video that we put together, and we're just going to run this real quick. This flight aware video, and let's start it now. That flight aware video just goes for the duration of the flight, which was no time at all. And you can see the line going from left to right. The airplane begins to accelerate just a little bit in speed. It kind of wobbles around a little bit. The information is not very accurate on the ground. And then when it finally gets to the end, it's at 184 knots. And that's all we can really learn from that ADS-B data on flight radar 24, is that this got to 184 knots before they plowed off the end of the runway. Let me show you now another video of the vantage now from a CCTV. All right, it's a closed circuit TV that's taking a look at the airplane after it settles back in, and it's beginning now to crash. Here we go. Now watch from the right side. Now I'm going to stop it right there. You see the airplane coming in. It's already on the ground, and it's already, the fireball is forming behind it. All right, I'm going to pick it up here, and you see the airplane right there. I'm going to stop it. It's on a knife edge on the left side of the aircraft as it then plows through a bunch of buildings and parking lots and everything else as it continues the carnage in front of it. Why did this airplane go so far? Because typically something like this, if they were to crash land, the wings would catch, the wheels would catch, this aircraft would dig in, and it wouldn't go nearly as far as it went. I think it's because it went over on the left side, and so it's kind of like a knife edge. You can see that right wing with the right engine intact, by the way, up in the air. So this aircraft now is just plowing a knife edge in, and it's going to go for quite a long time, but it's got all of that momentum because it was going 184 plus miles per hour knots when it went off and it crashed. So I'll finish this video. Oh, that's hard.
Just imagine when I first seen this video, it was a truck driver. He's sitting in the truck and you can see his mirrors in the front. He's sitting in the truck and the plane it just comes into the frame and he's just like looking like, whoa. He was right there. So it looks like he's only about, from the fire, he's probably only about 100 feet from the fire, maybe 120 feet from the fire. So like that was close for him. So if he was in a different part of that parking lot, it could have been over for him. I know he's lucky to be alive, but you never expect him for something like that to happen, especially like right in front of you. Let's keep going.
Hard to watch. It's just really difficult to watch. So, what's the big picture on all this? What's the most critical phase of flight? The most critical phase of flight is the takeoff phase. Why is that? Because in the takeoff phase, you're the heaviest you're ever going to be. You got the most fuel on board that you're ever going to have. You're the slowest that you're ever going to go, and you're fully configured. And most importantly, you've got almost all of your power all the way up. So when you're landing, you're much lighter, you have much less fuel, and your power is pulled all the way back. So if you need to go around, you got all that power you can bring on to fly out of whatever situation you find yourself in. Not the same on a takeoff. So these guys are going down the runway. Something happens between and rotate speed, and it's catastrophic. I have never seen an uncontained fire on an engine like this. Now, there's a video I'm going to show you here right now that is a picture of an engine sitting off of the runway. I've been told that it's the #1 engine off of this MD-11. It's not verified. None of the news services have reported that yet. So I don't want to get out over my skis on this because
So this was a few days after. This video was a few days after the crash, but this was actually verified to be the #1 engine of the MD-11. All right. So it was confirmed that this is the engine. So like I said earlier, once y'all see the fireball on that left side, the engine is already gone. And it was laying right here on the side of the runway. Let's keep going.
could have been photoshopped. But if the left engine did fall off of this aircraft, it would explain a lot. You can see the engine is on fire as they're kind of, wobbling and rotating into the air. The engine might have already departed. It tore a bunch of the left side of the wing apart. You got this now uncontrolled fire going on, all of that loss of lift. And why the left knife edge? Because that right engine is still producing full power. So it's forcing the airplane to turn like this, right? And you're going to counter that with right rudder. You're going to try to bring the nose back around. But in a situation like this, where the engine on the left side has completely departed and you got full power on the right side, it's going to be so dramatic. It's going to be very, very difficult to keep that nose from coming all the way around to the left. So it does make sense that left wing or that left main mount gear would dig into that building as it was coming down into it. As it did that, the airplane kept rolling over. And as it rolled over on that knife edge, as you saw in the last video, they just kind of plowed right in and they just kept going with all of that momentum. There have been reports now I've listened to on several news agencies. Reuters was reporting that they hit a fuel farm or a fuel tank off the end of the runway. And that's why that huge big ball and why the fire continued for as long as it did. I'm here to tell you that 34,000 gallons of gas is about 3 times as much gas as the airplanes that hit the World Trade Center had. I was originally scheduled on that first airplane, and typically a flight from Boston to Los Angeles would, on a 767, you'd take around 85 to 90,000 pounds of gas, maybe 100 on a rare occasion. They've got well over 2.5 times that much fuel on this MD-11. There was a shot from a helicopter, and you can see the long trail of
Man,
fire that goes out. It seems like forever. It looks like it's almost a mile off the end of the runway, and it's just really really difficult to see that image because that airplane had so much momentum when it went off the end of the runway. But what we know at this point is for sure is that that left engine was on fire. It was an uncontrolled flame out of that left engine that expanded to the left wing. It would kill almost all of the lift on that left wing. You have full power on the middle engine and the right engine, but not enough for them to continue to get airborne at the very, very high gross weight that they are on a trip all the way to Hawaii. They limp a little bit into the air, then they lose lift and they wallow back down to the earth. They hit that first building, the airplane rolls over on its left side in a knife edge. All that momentum continues to take it on for quite some distance, almost a mile. And what we know at this point is all 3 pilots have been reported dead by the major news agencies, and 11 people at least at this point have been taken to the hospital, and more, I'm assuming more, there's lots of missing people that they haven't identified yet. So when day breaks, I'm sure we're going to get updates. As we get updates on this and more information, I will certainly come to you with any sort of update, but that's what we know right now that happened just this evening in Louisville, Kentucky. Folks, hang in there. I know it's a tragedy. It's hard to watch these videos, but I'll keep you updated as I can. I'm Captain Steve. Talk to you soon.
hey, we appreciate Captain Steve, and like I said, he's a great content creator. Has a lot of knowledge about flying. He is a pilot. He knows a lot. So if you want to check him out, his page is linked in the description of this video. All right. So as he said, first of all, or second of all, I couldn't imagine being those pilots on board once you pass a certain point where you realize, like, okay, well, we're in trouble. And I know they did everything they could do to try to keep that plane from crashing. I mean, they're heroes, but there's only so much they can do. And once they're past V1, you have to take off. You can't abort. And so they believe that the issue happened after V1, so they were already committed, and so they had to take off or attempt to take off. So I'm sure once things weren't happening the way they're supposed to, I'm sure they tried everything in their power, because at that time, like, okay, lights going off, you got sirens going off, alert here, alert there. You have to do whatever it is that you can do to try to save your life, because basically, you're trying everything. So like I said, I couldn't imagine being in those positions of those pilots. They are true heroes, but unfortunately, the catastrophe or whatever problem went wrong, it was just too much. And I mean, it's sad. Like, I'm still sad every time I think about it. I get sad, but man, it was like a point of no return. So once they passed V1 and everything went to hell, they were doomed. They were doomed. And, to pass away like that, in a plane crash is one thing, but like to go like that with a whole bunch of fire that's involved and all this other type of stuff is just bad. So my hearts go out to the families, to the managers, the co-workers, the supervisors, like everybody, because, like my boss always tells me, and this is true, this is 100% true, if something was to happen to you one day, let's say you're a driver, something happens to you one day, you know, they're going to send some flowers, they're going to go talk to your family, but at the same time, let's say you're a package car driver, that package car is going out the next day, whether you're here or not. So those workers that work at the airport, that work on the sword in Louisville, Kentucky, when that happens, obviously they're affected emotionally, psychologically. the airport was closed, I want to say the following day. So we didn't get any planes the next day. I think they didn't open the airport till maybe a day and a half later because it was shut down. And that sort resumed, and those people are expected to work, even though they just lost coworkers, friends, you know, people that just talked to that same day, and now they're expected to work and focus and do a good job. And like I told my group the day after, you know, I say, it's important that we focus because it's easy to get caught up in thinking of what just went on yesterday and have your mind mentally distracted. You're trying to drive, you're trying to do your job right. You're trying to be safe at the same time. Don't make any mistakes, but at the same time, you're thinking about stuff. And so it's taking your mind off of your job. And so we wait here in Texas. So I can't imagine how it is you actually work in the same area of these people or the devastation. It's just unimaginable. It's unimaginable. We'll come back with an update. I mean, the people that's missing still, it's unfortunate. I know those families are suffering because you get to a point to where like you're like, okay, well, we're probably not going to find them alive. So we just wish for the best for everybody. And we just pray for everybody and just hope, you know, find out what happened and make sure it doesn't happen again. That's all we can do. And support those people that's going through it, whether it's with this situation or everyday life. Look out for one another. Try to tune out the negativity because, despite what people have going on, there's other people that take for granted a life and they spew negativity and really, really don't think about what's really important. I won't speak on anything specific, but in general, we are easily caught up in the BS. Easily caught up in the BS. All right. Thank y'all for all the likes. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I provided some type of value to you guys. Y'all send us a wave. Let us know y'all ain't here. Send us a wave. Thank y'all for the likes. And we're in peak season. I guess is in full throttle. I guess, what's today? What, the 12th? Thanksgiving in a couple weeks. In about 2 weeks, we got Thanksgiving. It just seems like, and I noticed this, and I told my buddies this at work. It just seems as if Thanksgiving is being skipped over. Like now you see all the Christmas stuff. Everything you see right now is Christmas. Oh, Merry Christmas. These lights on sale. These decorations on sale. It just seems as if Thanksgiving is not in 2 weeks. It's like a fast forward, like a skip button to Christmas. At least that's what I see. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I see. But as the years go on, it seems like the holidays, they come pretty fast. And it's like a sprint. It's like a sprint from Halloween night or maybe November 1st, the morning after Halloween. It's like a sprint from November 1st to Christmas Eve, right? Yeah. It's like you skip over those nearly 2 months. But, that's the times we live in and we just deal with it. We just deal with it. On the UPS front, I hope they learn from this. Um, and I just hope they make the adjustments. They had a good quarter, and then this happens. It's sad. It's sad. Thank y'all for the likes. We're gonna try to be back today, Wednesday. We're gonna try to be back before the week's out, and we'll bring y'all some updates. And hopefully, we can actually dig in and possibly get some good news out here. I'm sure we can. We'll find some good news. It won't all be negative. It won't be all sad. Well, it's not negative. It won't be all sad. We're gonna try to find some good news to report to you guys and keep y'all in the loop, keep y'all updated. Not asking you to do your research or nothing like that, because I got you. I got you. I bring what you need. We dropping 2 videos on the channel in the next 2 days. Video 1 is basically a rundown of peak season 2025 and how it's different from previous peak seasons. So if you want to check that out, that one will drop first. And the other one is basically talking about the plane crash in a different context in which we talked about tonight. So that video, both of those will be dropping by the weekend. One, like I said, giving the overview of 2025 peak, man, it's different. It's different this year. I made a video about that, not going into details, but it's different. In my work group, we have less TCDs, which was expected from me. Last year, we brought in 10 new TCDs in my group. This year, we only brought in 3. How I know this? Because I mentor them. So I mentored 10. My group mentored 10 TCDs last year, Christmas time, and this year we have 3. So it's a little different. We have a lot of seasonals. They bringing on SSDs. We have outside helpers are starting right now this week, and so things are getting moving. I just want to see when we get to like after Cyber Week. We don't care about Cyber Week. I'm not saying we don't care about it, but I don't know if Cyber Week is like a good litmus test as far as volume levels. I want to see the second and third week of December. I think that's a more indication of how the peak volume is going to be versus Cyber Week, because Cyber Week is going to always be crazy because you got Black Friday, you got early Black Friday, you got Thanksgiving sales and all of this other type of stuff. Tuesday before Black Friday, they have the Black Friday sales where you can purchase online and you still get the Black Friday deal. So it's Black Friday still, but it's not really Black Friday anymore. It's more like Black Week. They say, hey, forget about Thanksgiving, forget about the turkeys and all of that stuff. Hey, come on and shop. Don't worry about eating, mashed potatoes and gravy and your corn, cranberry sauce. Forget all of that. Hey, come over here and shop, spend your money. We're not even gonna wait till Black Friday. Y'all come out on Thanksgiving. We're gonna be open for y'all. Man, that's what the retailers are doing right now. And they're not ashamed about it. I'm not mad at them either. Get your money. But that's what's happening. So like I said, 2 videos this week we're gonna drop. And we'll keep you updated on the peak season situation. I heard USPS. I got a buddy of mine, YouTuber. He works for USPS, and so like they kind of been going through it. So we're gonna get together. We're gonna do an interview. We'll be doing that pretty soon. It'll be before Christmas, so y'all look out for that too. We did a video last year. He interviewed me last year. Shouts out to Mailman Nick. We appreciate you. He interviewed me last year, and it was a pretty good interview. So, we're just doing an update, but we're going to do it on both sides. And so you guys will be able to see it, and we're going to make sure it's good for y'all. But I have heard that USPS is going through it in certain parts of the country. So we're going to deep dive into that with Mailman Nick and see what's going on with that and keep you guys informed on the USPS front. All right. Look at here. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully I offer you guys value, and we'll see you on the next video. All right. Brick Media. Y'all have a good night. We out.